Anti-Martin Sniper. So guys, today I want to show you how I normally do top-down analysis. So this is how basically I trade. So this is what I do when I wake up. So for example, I wake up, I look at the weekly chart. So based on what we are seeing on the weekly candle, so of course we can see very well that the external range liquidity was taken out when we look at that of the previous week, and besides we have what we are referring to as the internal range liquidity in the form of a fair value gap. So we can see very well that we are having this fair value gap. So remember, we say that price will always deliver from internal to external range liquidity and the vice versa, meaning that we are expecting this weekly candle, we are anticipating the next weekly candle to move all the way up to here in the internal range liquidity. So I want to show you how you can actually utilize these simple concepts and you get some nice trades. So let's go straight to the daily chart and we see how we can figure out those trades. So when we go at the daily chart, of course we are going to look at the daily closures. Yes, we are going to look at the daily closures. We are putting in internal and external range liquidity to see how we can actually come up with the trades. Yeah, we are not going into entries, but we are simply seeing how we can anticipate the next day bias. So many people are finding difficulties in anticipating the next day, whether it will be bullish or bearish. So stick with me, subscribe to my YouTube channel, and don't forget to hit that notification bell such that you can always be notified whenever I upload new videos. So based on the previous day closure, of course we can see now. Remember that we know from the weekly chart, we know that the next week we are going to be bearish. But even if you are going to be bearish, it does not necessarily mean that you will be bearish throughout the week. So that is why, or when we put in the weekly profiles, yes, that is when we put in the weekly profiles. So based on how that week closed, of course we can see this is Friday. So we can see that Friday had swept that previous week's low. Remember, I told you that whenever we sweep or whenever we grab liquidity, we shall always reverse. So now, according to what we have, remember I told you, because now this one is like also a trading range, because we can see, yes, when we try to put there our Fibonacci tool, we can see. So keep in mind, knowing that price will always deliver from internal to external range liquidity and the vice versa. Then also price will always move from internal to external range liquidity. So that one looks like our range when we come to the daily chart. Remember, I told you that a range is only created after a sweep of buy side and sell side liquidity. So yeah, this video is basically for intermediate learners. So those who don't know what we mean by those terms, you can look into my previous videos. So now we want to know, will the Monday sell or buy? So according to what we are saying, because now we are seeing that price, this candle closed when we are in discount of this range, so we can't sell when the price is still in discount. Of course we shall wait for this price to move from discount, then it goes to the premium, and then maybe we can look for shorts. So looking at that, now we are seeing this liquidity grab here, meaning that, remember I told you that whenever I grab liquidity we shall always reverse. So that is, I told you that you also have to anticipate weekly profiles. So which means that with this liquidity grab, of course I expect my Monday to be bullish. However much I'm bearish the whole week. So let's see what Monday does. So of course we can see that Monday has bought. So which means that if we took this trade, of course this would be a winning trade. So now I want you to also observe these closures, and of course you have seen that price has moved very well from the discount of this range to the premium of that range. And I want you to look at how this candle has closed. So from what we are seeing that the Monday has swept, or it has grabbed the liquidity of the previous day, which was a Friday. I think you can see very well here. Now remember, I told you that whenever you grab liquidity, of course we shall always reverse. So basing on that, which means that now we are trying to anticipate the weekly profile that is most likely to be formed in that trading week. Don't forget that we are bearish. So after having taken liquidity, remember I told you that I want to see Monday either taking liquidity, if not, it is reacting from a high time frame key level. So our Monday having done that, of course I can anticipate. Remember now I will say, maybe I will think, remember this is a game of probabilities, and we simply have to react to what the market is doing rather than saying that it has to do this. So which means that after seeing something like that, of course we can maybe say or conclude that that is our weekly high. So which means that we have formed, or we are anticipating a classic bearish expansion week. That is when we shall expect our Monday or a Tuesday to form the high of the week, and then the weekly low to be formed on either a Friday, if not Thursday. So which means that I will anticipate my Tuesday to be bearish, and we are most likely to look for this low and maybe this one. And of course now price being in premium of that range, which means that we shall look for a key level where we expect this market to react from in case it sells. So we can see that we are having this order block, which means that the market can react off that block in the discount of that range. So let's see what Tuesday does. So from what we see, I think you can see very well. So unfortunately Tuesday has not sold, so which means that this one now is a losing day. So that being a losing day, and I want you to see how this candle closes. It is closing above that previous day's high, and again it is grabbing liquidity up here. So remember I told you that for a classic bearish expansion week, we shall always expect that weekly high to either be formed on a Monday, if not a Tuesday. So I think you can see now what this candle has done on a Tuesday. It has swept liquidity up here, and again we are seeing that it is breaking above this previous candle's high. So that one gives you two probabilities. But from what we saw from the previous week, of course we can see that this candle has went ahead and it swept the previous week's high. And remember I told you that whenever we sweep liquidity or we grab liquidity, we shall always expect a reversal. So meaning that we have lost on a Tuesday, but there are higher chances of us selling than buying. So let's see what the next day does. And of course we have seen that on a Wednesday we have sold, meaning that we have formed our weekly high on a Tuesday. So and I want you to see how this candle is reacting off this block. And I think you can see that we have cleared the liquidity that was lying below these candles. So which means that with even this day's closure, of course we are seeing that this day is closing but with a liquidity grab. So meaning that, remember I told you that whenever I grab liquidity, we are in most cases anticipating a reversal. So which means that with this and the price reaching out in the discount of this range, and again it is reacting from an order block, of course I will anticipate that Thursday will be bullish. So let's see what happens. And of course we are seeing that Thursday has bought. So after Thursday buying, now we are looking at its closure. Now really see how it has closed. Are you seeing how it has closed? So it has closed by sweeping that previous day's candle. So which means that we shall expect a Friday maybe to retrace. Let's see what happens. And of course, that is how it has played out. So don't expect that every day you will be winning. So from that, what we have seen, we are seeing that we have won 3 days out of, actually Friday didn't move that well, so which means that we can say that we won, or we had 3 winning days and we lost just 1. So as long as you manage the risk, you will really make it. So simply subscribe to my YouTube channel. I will always keep you posted. This is Martin Sniper. Thanks for watching.